Well, good morning, fellow navigators. So this is what we have going on here with the 62. So yesterday we went out to Eastern PA and picked up this 12-inch locomotive bell. Got a pretty good deal on it. So this is going to set up on a platform right up here above smoke box door, and we're also going to put a headlight in the middle of the smoke box, and it's going to be based upon what Barney Gramling has done for his engines, which is a ditch light housing with a metal can behind it, so it looks like a traditional headlight, but it's a little bit smaller, so it'll be a little bit better proportion for this locomotive. As you can see here, we've been doing some work pulling parts off. That's inside the valve chamber here, and as you can see, it looks pretty good. Any roughness you see there, that's just from the fluid film. We also took the heads off, and pistons look pretty good. You've got that gap up there, so we do have some wear, because that gap up there is pretty pronounced. So once we pull this all apart, we'll see what we need to do to the pistons. And then we've been just pulling parts off, getting ready to take the crosshead and the slide off here. And we got most of the valve gear and rods on the left side off. We just have that one strap up front to take apart, and we can get that off, and then the crosshead comes off. And over on the other side, we basically the same position here. The front strap has to come off, and the crosshead and the crosshead guide, and then the back cylinder head, and then of course we got to take the piston off the crosshead there to get that apart. So we're going to strip it all the way down, get the wheels freed up, get the this driving box to drop down. As you can see, we're up in the air, and I have that porta power over there pushing against a steel tie, and trying to push up against the frame and pull that driver down. Well, this tactic worked on 58. I hope it works on this, because then we'll need to do that to get those springs back into position. And then also this has to be freed up at some point too, but this is not nearly as critical because all the springs and everything are already in position. So at some point this week, stepping back a little bit, so the last YouTube video I posted, actually we filmed like 2 weeks ago, just after we got it in here, started working on it. And in the meantime, we have filled this with water. It does hold water. Filled it to the top. We built a wood fire in the firebox. We had this thing making steam with the lid off the top, and then I mixed in some trisodium phosphate and washing soda in there and just gave it a good boil for a couple of hours. That was to wash a lot of the crud and mouse droppings and, you know, just everything that had just built up in that boiler over the last 60 years with the washout plugs open. So having done that, and then we flushed it out pretty good. As you can see, there's quite a bit of scale and gunk that came out one of the washouts. Our next step is to once again fill it with water, this time put the lid on the top, and then do the hydro test that we've been talking about doing. And so basically we just put the lid on. We drilled and tapped a hole in the middle of the top of that lid, 3/4 inch, so we can have a valve so we could fill it with water and then allow the excess air to escape out the top. And then we take our hydro, once we get it full completely up, take our hydro pump and then just start manually pumping it, and then to bring the pressure up. And that's when we check to make sure that we don't have any leaks or where the leaks are at. So it's important when you do that hydro test that you don't have any leaks around the boiler. So we'll close it all up and run water into it with various lines and let the drain off to the side, because I don't want any water around the locomotive on the outside that may be mistaken as a leak. I want to be able to see any leaks. And then we're going to see how good the tubes are and how good all the stay bolts are. I need to get in here and drill all these out, all these telltales. Some of them are plugged up, so in order to get a good hydro test, we have to make sure all these stay bolts are good. So all these have to be drilled out. So be here for ever doing that, but same thing we did on 58. So that's basically all I've got going on right now. I'm hoping to do this hydro here pretty soon once I get all the prep work done. And we already ordered the steel plate for the front, the round plate for the new smokebox front. We are going to be using the door off of 60 on here on the interim until I can find a proper door. So we'll take this door off. I've got to make another strap. We have the hinges that came with 62. So we're going to use this door on that locomotive, and eventually, once I find a dished head that's the proper size, we'll get a new one and then put this door back on this locomotive. So, and then while this door's off of this, we'll take a piece of plywood, cut out, and stick it on there and bolt it in place to help protect the inside of the smoke box on this. So let's see, anything else going on around here right now? Well, so some of you may have heard that we're no longer doing the weekend steam train rides here because the Ohio Department of Agriculture thinks we're an amusement ride, and they want to regulate us as an amusement ride, which is just a hurdle we can't cross right now, because thinking that we're an amusement ride, well, they want the owner's manuals and the engineering drawings and everything for all of our equipment. Well, yeah, if you're building a Ferris wheel and you go to the Ferris wheel company and then they sell you a Ferris wheel, they'll give you the owner's manual for it. They'll also give you the drawings, and they've had an engineer design it and stamp it. How do you do that on a steam? There's no owner's manual for a steam locomotive. So we'd have to go and create all this documentation, have a professional engineer basically redesign, look at the design of all of our equipment and give it all his stamp of approval before we can get permission to operate as an amusement ride. Well, there's no way we can do that. I mean, what's an engineer going to charge to go through and redesign or, re-engineer this locomotive and draw it up so that we can? It's just nonsense. We're not an amusement park. This is a heritage railroad. But they claim that since we're not regulated by the FRA, that we're under their jurisdiction. Well, if you read the law, we're actually not. But I don't know if I can make that case with them or not. So until we get this all figured out, we're still doing the steam locomotive experiences. We're still doing the training programs, and we're going to be focusing more on membership-based events. So you can go to our website, you can become a member of the organization, and that gives you a yearly pass to come out and ride the train whenever we're running the train. So we will be running the train for members-only events, but membership is open to anyone who wants to join. So we'll have to do that to kind of work our way around this issue. And hopefully we can start doing public rides again someday, but that's going to involve convincing the state of Ohio that this tourist railroad is not an amusement park. And we were formed for educational and historical purposes, not amusement purposes. So I don't know, it's just one of these things. You start doing something and then somebody's got to come along and try to shoehorn you into something you're not into. And it's not as if I haven't read the amusement regulations. I have, but I did it even before we got this started. But there is right at the front of the law, it says amusement rides are, devices built for the purpose of amusement and excitement and thrill and something like that. Well, you might get amusement riding our train, but that was not the purpose that it was created for. Our purpose is for educational and historical purposes, which we have been since day one when we first started this in the 1990s. And every iteration of this project up until the current day, it's always been as a museum, historical society, preserving history. Nothing about amusement rides or anything like that. So we're going to try to state our case to the state, see what they say, but probably will fall upon deaf ears. But even so, we will still have our membership-based operation. So, if you want to come out and ride the train, we will have operating days. They will be members only. All you have to do is go to the website, become a member. You'll get a season pass. You can come out and ride any of those days for free. Maybe that's how we just do things going forward. So, oh well, a little bit of a road bump or in front of us, but we'll get through it, and it's not going to stop us from getting 4 steam locomotives restored and having this thing running before too far into the future. So, all right, everyone, I gotta go to Pittsburgh and work on the 48-inch mill today, so I'll be talking with you later on.